right, hey, what's up, guys? It's Jamie. It is May 16th, Monday. Doing it again, and I just dropped the girls off. I'm heading back. I use this app called V-Recorder. I mean, there's a lot of apps that you can use, I guess, to film on your phone. It's worked really well for me so far, but lately I've been shooting some videos. Ooh, that's a bad one. I've been shooting some videos and it's not recording the sound. So it's probably me. It's probably user error, Bluetooth. I'm not sure. But anytime I try to go to a different screen, right? I pulled over. I was in a parking lot at a bank, and I was like showing these images of stuff I was talking about. And then at the end of the video, it said no sound was recorded, and I was a little frustrated. I was like, ah. So hopefully this works. At some point, I guess I'm gonna, maybe I'll have to start editing these and drop in some pictures to step my game up. You know, it's not a horrible thing. But anyway, just to think out loud, I got my Waze app on as I'm driving back and shooting this video. So what I was thinking about was inflation, right? Inflation meaning from what I've been reading and listening to, the inflation rate is around 8.5% a year, or 8%, 8.5% a year. I don't know if that's hard 100% fact of that's what it is, but I keep hearing that 8% is the number. So if that is actually 100% correct, if you have if you have 100,000 in the bank, and you're like, hey, I'm good, I got 100,000, that means you have to earn, my interpretation is, over 8% just to keep the value of what your 100,000 can buy, today. That is my interpretation as a middle-aged dad, father of four, working guy, when they say, hey, 8% inflation rate means that my money is worth less, right? Just like right now, I went to get gas, and when I filled up my tank, it used to cost me about 25 bucks. Well, now it's 50 bucks, $50 to $55. So, I remember a few years ago when everything happened, the pandemic, I have a picture of a gas station. It was at $1.39. I was like, wow. So, now it's almost $5. $4.49 is what I was paying per gallon. So anyway, so the inflation. So I'm trying to explain to my wife that, with the money, some of the monies that we have set aside, and she's afraid, right, that like what happens if we spend the money, right? She is so fearful of spending money, which isn't a bad thing. I'm like, yeah, but that money is not doing us any good. I think it's good to have like emergency funds, working capital, that type of thing. But you got to get your money to work. If you have it sitting there and you're just hoarding the money, and you're like, okay, I have $1 million, I have $100,000, I have 10 grand, whatever that amount is. Unless you have a specific purpose of where you're going to put that money, it's not doing you a lot of good. And in the event of you're losing value, it's like having a tire, right? A brand new tire, and then you just go, hey, my tire pressure's low. If you're losing 8% a year and you never add air to your tire, it's going to go flat. So we got to make sure that our money is working for us. So I have to look at the options that are available to us. Now, I'm really focused mostly on the real estate aspect of it, not because the market's not overpriced, there's going to be a pullback, and the rates are going up. I understand all that, but there's still deals to be made. People still need to buy and rent, and there's people moving around the country. There's opportunity there. You just have to really be paying attention to what's out there. It's the same thing in the car market. Now, I've been in the auto industry for 22 years, and I've never seen prices like they are right now. You could say, well, it's a chip shortage, it's the availability of inventory. People are getting 10-20% over sticker on new cars or even retail. People are paying it. People are not paying the cars. They're paying $2,000, $5,000. I had a friend text me yesterday, ended up talking to him, and his girlfriend's son was buying a Honda Civic, and the car is like a $25,000 MSRP car, and he was going to pay 27 and some change. So, basically a little over 10% over sticker, and some bogus fee of like $3,600. I didn't know what it was at first. That he just a young guy, he didn't really understand, but it was like low jack. Now, I'm not saying don't buy other stuff, because we sell stuff, but you don't want to get gouged. I mean, there's value in there, and if you're not aware of this stuff, you're going to get taken advantage of, like in anything, right? Not just the car dealers are bad, and there's bad people everywhere. But there is value in some products, but it's not low jack. If you were going to buy it, certainly is not a $3,500 product. That's for sure. If you even need it, I don't really sell that, and I don't sell that. So when I looked at it, I'm like, are you willing to pay that? Because they're just making you take that. You don't have to take that, but he didn't even understand what he was buying, and he was willing to pay it. He was willing to pay basically almost $6,000 over sticker, because the product he was getting, where they said, hey, we're putting this in here, he was willing to pay it because he really wanted the car. So every situation is different. Now you get really educated people that are very conscious of rates and breaking the numbers down. Affluent people making 6-7 figures, and they're still overpaying for the cars for whatever reason. So it doesn't mean that people won't buy automobiles. It doesn't mean that people won't buy houses. It doesn't mean that people are not going to, go to the gas pump and the grocery store and so on and so forth. So inflation is something I am paying attention to, and what I'm doing with the money that we have, or I have, because my wife controls a good bit of our money, and that's fine. If you're having a good marriage, a good relationship, sometimes you have to choose, choose your priorities and your what we like to call our things we won't compromise, right? Our terms. So money for us, I want her to feel safe and comfortable, so she manages the majority of our funds. So the real estate that we have, we're trying to grow that portfolio in addition to stocks, options, and cryptocurrency stuff that we look at. And that's kind of what I've been looking at really closely and going after. So I'm going to an auction on Wednesday, this Wednesday, the 18th, on a property that is been foreclosed on. It's a very small property. It's 1,100 square feet. It probably is a tear down. I talked to some of my friends that are more experienced than me in that world, and they were like, well, unless you could buy it for this, and they gave me their input. If it's a tear down, this is going to be your cost between tearing it down, taking away the material, getting permits, architectural stuff, rebuilding, time frame, right? I'm going to carry either my money being tied up, and or if I took out a loan for some of that, I have to pay back that loan. And it may take 6 months to a year or longer between tearing it down, building, and then selling it. And who knows what's going to happen with the market. I was looking at it just like an opportunity to flip something or buy and rent it out, because it's an awesome area to rent out. The rents are going for $2,500 to $3,000 minimum for this size apartment. This is a single family house. So if I could get it for a certain amount of money, like my target is $200,000 to $300,000, then I would essentially rehab it if I could, and just rent it out, or just flip it to somebody. If I bought it and somebody's like, hey, I'll pay you a little bit more for it, then I would just flip it over to them. I just want to keep the money coming in instead of just having the money sit there and do nothing. I also use this as an excuse to talk to some of my friends, inner circle, and family members to say, hey, I'm doing this, and I don't need your money. And I don't mean that like an arrogant jerk. I'm just saying, like, I don't need your money to do this, but maybe we could do some stuff together. And if you have a small group of people you're doing stuff with that you trust, and you have a good working relationship, you could probably do more. My ex, her stepfather, essentially, he's a retired state trooper, and him and his fellow officers that retired, they they pooled together and they went, and this is before all this pandemic stuff, but this was actually many years ago, but they would flip properties. They'd go in and put their money together, and they would just put one in one's name, and then they take their cash and jump in there and say, okay, let's go in, we're going to spend 50 to 100 grand, and then they'll flip it. And he said he was making somewhere around 40,000 ish, per property, and they would just split that up and just keep doing it. It was their side hustle. So I was like, all right, well, if I could go in and buy a property that, whether it's in my wheelhouse of budget, or if I had to need some help, then I'd have some experience with someone. It's like, hey, we did this one and we did that one, and we profited from it. We have a good process. Let's see if we can go to this bigger one, like this $10 million property. Then I might get one or two guys that say, hey, let's do that one together, and follow the same process that other successful people have done, as well as ourselves. Because I think the best success that I have usually is, in practice, and then I could kind of learn from my own process, as well as applying the stuff that I learned. So anyway, that's what I got going on for the auction stuff, and the house, or trying to get into the real estate market, and with what's available. In one aspect, there's lots of other ways to do that, but that's one of the things I'm looking at. And if I win, I will post that property. I'll edit the video. I'll show you the before and after, and where it is, and that type of thing. So as far as battling inflation, that's one thing I'm thinking of. And then in the Robinhood account, of the accounts that I have, and I have several accounts, and I encourage you, if you are going to do that, stocks, options, cryptocurrencies, that you should have more than one. I'd say at least have 2 or 3, and be diversified. So I'm not really adding too much to any of those stocks and cryptocurrencies, because I'm waiting to see what happens. I've been hearing that Bitcoin may come down even further. I know it went down around 25,000. I think at some point it could probably go down below 20. If that's true, I would definitely buy more Bitcoin. I don't mean be like Michael Saylor from MicroStrategies and put everything I have into it, but I definitely would buy. I would definitely buy some more Bitcoin for the long term, because I do believe it's a good hedge, and you should have a small percentage of your portfolio, and that, and maybe a couple other solid cryptocurrencies, or things that you believe in a little bit more. Just like you say, hey, I really believe in Apple or Microsoft, or I might really believe in Walmart or McDonald's, or whatever other companies you believe in, that you want to invest in. For the Robinhood account, I am focused on Volta, and I'm trying my best I am not adding money to that Robinhood account, because right now I have around 7 grand in it. I'm down a couple grand because Volta is down. My average cost is around 280 and some change, and I think when I checked it last, it was like 215, 210 per share. Now, if it goes back up, I'm not going to sell. I still think I can get 50 cents to $1 out of it. The first options that are going to expire May 20th, which are this Friday. So I'm going to see if I can flip a couple contracts, even if I only make $100 or $200, right, to just throw back in the kitty. But as I'm waiting, but the options are far out, and there's not a big premium in those, which is why I don't really want to have a big position in Volta long term. So sometimes you get caught holding a stock, and you're called a bag holder, right? Because you can't get out unless you want to take a loss. I don't want to take a loss, and it's a little bit disappointing, because I'd rather move on to other things. But everything's down. Everything in the market is down for the most part, and so I don't want to go chasing my tail, saying, "Oh, let me go after this one." So I'm being patient, because if I'm at 7, and if I can get the price target that I want, hopefully I can get to at least 10 to 12,000. Okay, so in the Robinhood account, I have 3,200 shares, around 280 and some change per share. So once that happens, and I get where I want to be, I'll lock in that profit for the most part, and then I'm really hoping to do this before July 15th, where Google is supposed to do a 20-to-1 split, which is, you know, on the 15th of July. So I do want to have 100 shares of Google. I don't have 100 shares of Google. And I like to do it before it splits. I'd like to do it even after it splits, but I don't know if it's going to drop lower after it splits or if it just kind of runs. I guess it depends. But I definitely would like to try to do that. Have 100 shares of Google and sell those premiums when that happens. So that's kind of what's on the agenda for trading stocks. But premiums, selling cover calls is something I really believe in, and having my money working for me is something I really believe in versus just sitting somewhere. So I don't think it's a bad thing for you to save. It's definitely a good thing to have dry powder, as I say, like, you know, cash on hand for opportunities. I think that's really important. I had another opportunity that came up that I can't discuss that you got to have cash available. And if you didn't, there's been many times in my life where I saw opportunities, I just didn't have the money available to me because I made dumb moves or just ignorant moves beforehand that kind of dried up all my financial resources. So not only did I not have the money, I also didn't have the network of people that I do today to capitalize on those opportunities. So the better your chances, it's still probabilities, right? The more money you have, the better credit you have, the more experience you have, the more network, the people in your network that are not just contacts, right? I mean, people that you know when the opportunity comes, they're not just going to give you lip service. They're going to be like, yeah, let's go, let's do it. You know, and those are good people to have in your circle. They bring value to whatever it is you're doing. So I think that's all. Well, that's under 20 minutes. So that's good. Well, that's my share. Sorry I don't have the pictures to show. I really wanted to have it, but at least we talked a little bit. And I hope you have a great Monday. I'll see you guys tomorrow.